Hey everyone, we are back with another installment of our discussion about the exemptions to the ABC test from AB5 about independent contractor classification. My name is Galia Aharoni Schmidt. I'm a lawyer at Aharoni Business Law, and we are bringing to you a series of kind of deeper dive videos into the exceptions to the ABC test when you're trying to figure out whether someone is a contractor or an employee. So we have a whole long video talking about that, the ABC test itself. So please go check out that video first, because all of that will be the required background for what we're talking about today. But we're doing a series of videos just about the exceptions to that rule, because they are long and varied and complex and very boring. So today in this video, we're going to be talking about the 3 different tests that apply to music creators and just performers in general. So stick around for this video. Now we're going to dig right into it. So the first one we're going to be talking about is the rule that covers single engagement events. So this is just, a single time gig, or even, recurring event that happens even at a restaurant, or, it can be a formal music venue or something like that, but it can be casual too. The rule here is that either it's just kind of a one-time thing, or if it is a recurring event, it's no more than once a week. So the rule here applies to both parties. So the venue and the musician, neither of them are supposed to have substantial control over the other. Both parties are supposed to be able to have the ability to negotiate the rate of pay. There should be a written contract, and that written contract has to include the total payment owed and the rate that is being paid. Both parties have to have their own location to do the work. So, it can't just be like an on-site performer who only performs there. It has to be, let's say, a band that has a separate location. Ideally, to the degree possible, each party provides their own tools, cars, equipment, and if necessary, each party should have its own business license. Each party should be customarily engaged in the similar type of work that they're doing, and if not actually doing that work, at least making themselves available to do that work for other people. So for example, if we're talking about a band, they regularly do gigs, or at least advertise in some way their ability to do gigs for other people. And there has to be no restrictions on clientele. So, coffee shop A can't hire the band say, in order to do a gig here, you have to promise us you'll never do any gigs for coffee shop B, our competitor across the street. Okay. So, so that test, however, does not apply to the following 3 situations, which I don't think will come up with people watching this video very often, but just in case. If there is kind of a group orchestra performance happening, and it's a symphony orchestra, or it's a performance at a theme park or amusement park, or it is a musical theater production, and I guess it doesn't have to be an orchestra too. Let's say you're in a barbershop quartet performing at a theme park. This single engagement event would not apply. This exemption would not apply. Same thing if you're an event headliner for a venue that can occupy at least 1,500 people in one night. Or you're performing at a festival that sells at least 18,000 tickets a day. The single engagement event exemption does not apply, and you'd be using the regular ABC test instead of the Borello test. Okay, so that's about live performances. The next one is about the music industry. So this is kind of anyone basically who's involved in the creation or production or distribution of music. So this exemption applies to this long list of people. I'm just going to read all of them. So recording artists, songwriters, lyricists, composers, proofers, managers of recording artists, record producers and directors, musical engineers and mixers, musicians, vocalists, photographers. So photographers is music related. So if they're recording things like photo shoots, album covers, or other things related to press or publicity of the music. Independent radio promoters, and basically anyone else providing services related to the music. one thing to note also is musicians, so who haven't negotiated for royalties of the music, there are rules for them about getting paid minimum wage and overtime. So you're one of these people, but you also have to be doing something that is about the creating, marketing, promoting, or distribution of sound recordings and musical composition. So again, kind of anything related to recording that music and getting it out there. It explicitly does not apply to film or TV crews or to publicists who aren't independent music publicists. So again, the entire film and TV industry is carved out here, which is frustrating and I think a little weird, but this applies really just to music. So basically this feels like a lot. I know it's a long list, but generally speaking here, this is a sniff test. If the work is related to making or recording or distributing music, this exemption probably applies, okay? The last one I wanted to talk about here is just performers. So these performers include, but are not limited to, people who are doing comedy, improv, stage magic or illusion, mime, spoken word, storytelling, or puppetry. So it again explicitly does not apply to theatrical productions or musicians or musical groups, because those are all covered by the ones that we just talked about. So if the performer is performing material that's their own original and creative work, then this exemption might apply. So if all of those things, if you're with me so far, then this exemption will apply if, first of all, again, you've heard this 1,000 times if you've watched these videos, the performer has to be free from control of the venue or whoever's hiring them. So that includes, they need to have artistic control over all elements of the performance. So that might include things like lighting or sound or the set. They need to keep the ownership of their IP when they're doing the performance. The performer should have the ability to set the terms of the work and negotiate their rates consistent with the nature of the work. And the performer has to be able to freely accept or reject the performance without being penalized. So let's say they have an ongoing gig, but they can't do this one. And the venue can't say, if you don't take this one, I'm never going to hire you again, basically. So those are our 3 different categories really that are about performers and musicians. Again and again and again, if one of these exemptions does apply, it doesn't automatically mean that the person or the band or whomever is automatically a contractor. It just means that we're using the Borello test instead. So as you can probably tell from all of these videos, these are not straightforward tests. They are complex. They are written really poorly. There's lots of room for confusion and gray areas. So if you think one of these might apply to you, I encourage you to do your own research and talk to a lawyer who's an expert in this, because there are consequences that we talked about in the other video. And I don't want you to be hit with those consequences, okay? So please feel free to reach out to us if you have any further questions. But in the meantime, please feel free to like and subscribe to our channel for more free content about this and other things. You can also feel free to follow our social media or sign up for our newsletter for alerts when we post new free stuff that's supposed to help all business owners whenever we can. So that's pretty often. And thanks for sticking around for this series, and we'll see you next time.